Hello, Fancy Teeth fans. I'm not Jay, as you can clearly see. My name's Auram. Jay wanted me to come on today to talk about Batman in some capacity, and I picked out Tom King's Batman run to just review a little bit. I really like it, so let's get into it. Alright, so I don't really have a big structure here for this specific review. I'm not really reviewing an issue of it, or really the entire complete series, because at the time of this recording, Tom King is still writing Batman, so the entire series isn't out yet, but we do have a couple story arcs out. We have the I Am Gotham story arc, the I Am Suicide story arc, and a couple, I think, Monster Men tie-ins as well, but I didn't read those. So basically, I'm going to be tackling the I Am Gotham and the I Am Suicide storylines, starting with the first one, the I Am Gotham one. So yeah, like I said at the top of this video, I really enjoy this series. Tom King is one of my favorite writers. His Vision series was a standout at Marvel at the time, and he carried his writing prowess just as well over into the DC realm. With I Am Gotham, we get the introduction of two new characters, Gotham and Gotham Girl, and they are these really kind of tortured characters that have an origin that's very similar to Batman's, but instead of using their own devices and becoming a crime-fighting vigilante in their own right, they trained for years but never felt like they were at full potential to become crime fighters. So, if I'm remembering this correctly, they took to the streets and bought like some kind of drug that gave them Superman-like powers. So they're not at the power of Superman, but they have Superman-like powers. And they show up in Gotham and start trying to save the day with Batman, and Batman is very skeptical about this. He's shown to be very concerned with these two new players in his city. Some of it is partially just like, who are these young punks in my city now? And there's also another side of it where Batman is just legitimately concerned for these two young people who just suddenly showed up out of nowhere with godlike powers. Like, there's something fishy going on behind that, and he was right. The story goes on with Tom King writing a very brooding and just scary Batman throughout the series. Not scary in the sense where you're just terrified of him constantly, but he's just intimidating is a better way to put it. He's always just this lurking presence in the background, and it's Batman at his best. Tom King brings out Batman at his best. So the story ends with a pretty big cliffhanger, not really cliffhanger, but just it ends with something big happening that I don't entirely want to spoil, because I do think if you haven't read Tom King's Batman, you should definitely check it out. But that being said, we're going to move on into the I Am Suicide storyline, which I personally think is a tiny bit better than the I Am Gotham storyline. So this one focuses on trying to fix something that happened in the I Am Gotham storyline by Batman forming his own Suicide Squad out of some high-level inmates in Arkham Asylum. Two of which being Bronze Tiger and Catwoman, which Batman has very interesting relationships with both of them. Bronze Tiger is kind of an anti-hero, it seems like, that Batman is just very fond of, and not unlike Catwoman, Batman is clearly very fond of Catwoman, and they have a very interesting relationship, because one thing that they start this series off with is Catwoman is facing a death sentence because she apparently murdered thousands of people. This came out of nowhere and is a very interesting thing to just shout right off the bat, where Catwoman is just suddenly a murderer, a brutal, terrible murderer, and no longer a thief. And they toy with that a little bit and reveal the truths behind that, and it's very interesting. So anyway, Batman forms his Suicide Squad-like team and leads them into a fight against Bane, where King has a lot of very interesting and amazing parallels drawn between Batman and Bane, and he just does a fantastic job of getting that point across and really selling it. So the I Am Suicide storyline kind of mellows out into a brief Catwoman storyline where Batman is dealing with Catwoman not wanting to go back to Arkham Asylum and really figuring out what happened with the whole pretty much genocide sentence that she has. And that's also a very interesting storyline. It's a very interesting analysis between Batman and Catwoman's relationship that Tom King does a fantastic job at once again. But I think that's all we have at the time of this recording. So just overall, this series is fantastically done. The writing is incredible. The art is also incredible. Everything is just thrown together in this book to make a very solid comic. It's super great. So yeah, definitely go pick up Tom King's Batman if you haven't read it before. If you have read it before, just talk about it in the comments. Let me know what you thought about it. I'm sure you liked it. If you didn't like it, why not? And subscribe to Jay. If you're not already, if you came here from some other source, subscribe to Jay. I'm not normally here, but if you want to see me normally somewhere, you can go to my channel. It's youtube.com/auramscomics. Check it out.